How's it going, everybody? We'd like to take a second to thank this week's sponsor, Sleep Terror Clothing. Sleep Terror Clothing is a dark-minded alternative streetwear brand that creates bold clothing and accessories for men and women, featuring tattoo artwork, witchy and goth aesthetics to boost your dark and witchy energy. An item of theirs that I personally cannot wait to try is their Leviathan Cross Beard Oil. It's gonna make my beard so nice to the touch, considering I touch it about 100 times a day. Sleep Terror Clothing is all about promoting self-love and encouraging you to follow your own path. Be bright, bold, and blasphemous. Hail yourself because you're worth it. Shop Strange at www.sleepterrorclothing.com and use our code FRIENDSGO for 10% off your order. Thank you so much again to Sleep Terror Clothing for sponsoring this week's episode. Now let's get into that incredible story of Darro Chea. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Where Did All My Friends Go? Podcast about life in the music industry. Today we got someone special, and it's not just our guest. We've got our good pal Matt. He's coming in. He's co-hosting.
Matt.
Let's go.
Hey.
Tell
Happy to
the
be here.
peeps. Tell the peeps about you, Matt.
Well, my name is Matt. Pat allowed me to come out of the hiding, come out of the background and come here, and I'm very excited to be on this episode. I've learned a lot about Darro here over the last couple of days, and I got some heavy hitter questions ready.
Ooh, I'm ready. Am I ready for these questions?
I think so. I think you got this. So today we've got pop punk recording artist Darro Chea with us. Darro, welcome to the show, man.
Dude, thank you for having me on here. Thank you for for rescheduling. I know we ran into a bunch of scheduling issues during COVID. I just moved to LA, so my schedule has been hectic to say the least, and downright fucking crazy at the most. It's been a journey for sure.
Well, it's okay, because I think the last reschedule was my fault because I was dying.
That is not your fault.
I got really sick. I think that's what it was either me or the family.
I think it was your family. You told me your family was sick. Yeah.
So it's one of the two, because both happened pretty much back to back. So
yeah.
It's just
I cannot imagine.
It's just been fun on fun.
Yeah. Dude, you know what's crazy? Like when I first moved here, so I moved here to LA the third week of July this year, 2022. And this is a whole fucking story, but I had just finished my tour, and when you're on the road, like you're not sleeping well, you're not eating well, you're hardly like keeping clean, and like going to bars and meeting hundreds and hundreds of people like every other day. So like of course you're gonna get sick, right? So not only like we finished our last show in Brooklyn on July 17th. And on July 18th, the very next morning, we started driving to LA.
That's a long drive.
And it was 3,000 miles. It was, and we had to condense it in 4 days. Because I had a job starting on like the 21st or the 22nd. So I literally had 4 days to drive from New York to LA. And the second I got here, I started working. So it's just been nonstop. And when I first got here, dude, I was so sick. I was coughing and sneezing, and I had body aches, and I'm like,
oh no.
And the thing that sucks the worst was like, I can't call off on my first day, because the whole point of me coming here was to make it here for this day. Like I had to start on a specific day of work. And for me to just call off that day would be like, what's the point of even, I could have saved myself like all this stress just by saying, hey, I can't make it in this day, and buy myself more time, Yeah. So like I had to swallow all my pride and all the mucus or whatever, and just like come into work. And it was brutal, man. That first week I was sick as a dog. I was having to learn a brand new job. It was not fun.
No.
I can't even imagine. So how, if you were to drive straight through, how long do you think it would take? Because I know I've driven straight from like up here in Duluth, Minnesota, all the way to fucking Florida and to Providence, Rhode Island. Both of those are like 24 hours. And so
Yeah,
that's the middle of the country. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
40 some hours.
It on our GPS when I put in the route, it was about 42 hours.
Oh,
42 hours of driving. And this is like, we made a couple of stops. We slept 3 nights. So we stopped one time in Cincinnati, another time in, I want to say Oklahoma,
Okay.
and then a third time in Arizona. And then from the next morning from Arizona to California, we drove straight. Yeah. So yeah, it was a pretty brutal drive. And it was in the middle of the summer too. It was really hot.
So did you also have a whole bunch of stuff you had to unpack before you went?
No, okay. So here's this is the other story about it is the whole reason why we opted to drive rather than flying was because we have animals, we have pets. So I have a dog, Mocha, and my girlfriend has 2 cats. And so we just have furry animals that we can't like realistically put on a plane, right?
Sure.
And so our car, we just took an SUV. We drove my girlfriend's car, and all we did was fill it up with duffel bags. So really, it wasn't like luggage, it wasn't gear, it wasn't like furniture. We actually put that in one of those like storage units that they ship across the country, like a shipping container, which is still in storage right now. But and yeah, so really it was just we didn't really have to lug any gear. It was just the fact that we had animals, which is what caused us to have to drive in the first place. If that wasn't the case, I would have stayed home, packed a couple more days, and flown. And that's the other thing too. When we left our apartment in Brooklyn, we weren't even fully packed yet. We still had a bunch of stuff left there.
oh.
So like after I left, because the way that everything worked out was we went on tour the first 2 weeks of July this year. I've been planning this tour for like a year. And actually this was a tour that we planned for like 2020, and then COVID hit. So we had to like redo the tour. So this tour was something that we planned years ago. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to cancel this. Like I was not going to stop. I was not going to not do this tour. I didn't care if it killed me. Like I wanted to do this tour. And when we planned the tour, we booked the shows, we had the dates set, everything was ready to go. And then like in May, so maybe 2 months before we like leave on tour, I get this job offer for here in California, in LA. And they're like, yeah, we want you to start on July 18th. And I'm like, my last show was on the 17th in Brooklyn. Like, not only that, but like my last show, like I will literally like leave the venue probably at midnight that night.
Right.
So technically the 18th. And I'm like, it's physically impossible for me to make it to LA within like an hour from New York City.
Right.
So I kept trying to push back the start date because I was like, hey, like, is there any flexibility on this? Like, no, we need someone like as soon as possible. And so I didn't want this job offer to go away because it fit all the check marks that I needed in the job, and including like healthcare and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, so July 17th is a Sunday, July 18th is a Monday, which is the day you want me to start. What about that following Friday, which I think was like the 21st or the 22nd? And they're like, that's tight, that's pushing it, but if you can come on Friday, get onboarded, like submit all your documents, get your work laptop, and then you can start on Monday without having to do any of that stuff, I think that'll work. So that was the plan. That plan was the Sunday night, finish my show in Brooklyn, Monday morning, start driving. The issue with this is that because of where this tour took place in the month, we had virtually no time to pack. So like and of course I was working full time, right? So like I would come home from work and get home, and it's New York, so it takes forever to get home on the subway. So like I would get home at like 7-8 o'clock, pack for like 2 hours, go to bed, wake up, rinse and repeat every single day. Weekends were all rehearsals, planning for the tour, doing all the stuff, getting merch ready, all that crap. And so like there was just so little movement in the actual packing department that by the time that we had left, I would say like half my apartment still was unpacked. And
Damn.
like I left. Like I had not been back to New York since. However, my girlfriend was flying back a couple of times because she had a wedding to go to. She had another gig to do. So she was like, oh yeah, I'll come back and I'll pack things and throw things away for you. But really what ended up happening was I just texted all my friends. I was like, hey, come raid my apartment and take anything you want. Dude, I still had guitars there. I had like a Martin acoustic guitar there that I couldn't bring with me. I couldn't fit
Damn.
anywhere. I didn't want to put it in the storage unit because like I didn't want it to go through all of those changes in climate inside of a storage unit that was, and that's like an expensive Martin guitar, so I didn't want to put it through all that. So I just texted one of my guitar players like, hey, if you pick up my Martin and just hold on to it for the next undetermined amount of time, it's yours until I want it back. And so that's basically what I ended up doing with all my gear. I just lent it out to like my friends. I'm like, it's yours for now. I'll come get it at some point. And so now I have one guitar and a laptop. That's all I have right now, and it's the barest I've ever been.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Well, so you told you know, we've talked a little bit about the last tour you went on. You also released your latest album, Accidents.
Yeah.
Back in August, which features the singles Phoning In, I'll Be Lost, Want to Say Goodbye, and Something I'm Not Used to. Tell us about the album and how the response has been since its release.
Oh man, that feels like so long ago. Isn't that crazy? It's something that, yeah, really. It's something that I've been working on for a while. I actually started recording the songs for that album over a year ago, maybe like a year and a half ago. Because like some of the first songs that I released on that album were Signing Out and Used Me and Runs on Guilt. And basically the idea was like I went to this producer named Chris Crummett, and he's known for like producing bands like Dance Gavin Dance, and he's done like Sleeping with Sirens, and so he's great producer, great engineer, and is really fun to work with. And he has a live-in studio in Portland, so when we go to record the songs, we like stay on the premises and just like basically live there for a couple of weeks.
Right on.
And so I started writing the songs for that album like during the pandemic. And some of them were actually supposed to be on my other album. But on my other album, Songs of Recovery. However, I learned very quickly with that first album, Songs of Recovery, that I don't like producing myself, that I don't like self-engineering or self-mixing. I can do it for other people and actually enjoy that more. But when I have to like produce or work on my own music, it's so tedious, you know?
Sure.
And it loses its magic. Like it doesn't feel as exciting to you. It feels like a chore. And then it just doesn't become fun. And I still have like those weird feelings with that first album. I'm like, this could have been so much better if I wasn't so busy or if I did it by myself. And so there's like a little bit of there's always a tinge of like, oh man, I wish I would have done this, like hindsight 2020. And so the other songs that I wrote at the time, I'm like, these songs are a little too good for my level of production. And so I was like, I was looking for producers to see if anybody would be willing to produce me, but I didn't want to work with just anybody. I wanted to work with someone that was way more neurotic than me, way more like advanced than me. And I was willing to spend money on it too. And so one of the people that I was really interested in working with that I reached out to was Chris Crummett. And I never, ever thought he would respond to me, like with like his caliber of clientele. Like I never expected a response. Got back to me in a couple of days and was like, these demos sound really good. I'm not accepting really any clients, but I'd be willing to take you on. And I'm like, yo, let's go. And so I had to go for it. And so we flew out to Portland. We did a couple of songs with him. Those weren't great. And then I told him like, hey, I want to put these songs on an album with a bunch of other songs. And so we struck up a deal. I was like, okay, I'll come back in a couple of months and finish the album. And so I went back in January of 2022. Is that 2022? Is that this year? And I think, no, it was the end of last year. So I went back at the end of last year, 2021, to finish recording the album. And I was sick. Dude, I was sick during the vocal takes. So all of those songs, and this is a really funny story. All of the songs that you hear on there, except for Signing Out, Use Me, and Runs on Guilt, I was completely sick singing all of those parts. And there's a couple of parts that like I remember hearing, like when he was sending back the mixes to me, I'm like, oh, I need you to cut like this frequency because I can hear my nasal, like my sinuses in that take. And so someone came up to me the other day, like after one of the shows, and they're like, dude, like your voice sounds so much different from the record. And I'm like, yeah, because I was sick when I was recording them. And so like there's weird level of like snotty rasp that I couldn't reproduce in real life unless like, like I get the proper snot.
Right.
Yeah, but although one of the one of the redeeming things about being sick was that like, dude, I was so exhausted and just like fucking over it that I like was so like there was no self-consciousness like when I was, because normally like I'm a little bit shy like as a singer. Dude, I was just so burnt out that I'm like, I don't care how I sound, I'm just gonna get this done. And sometimes that helps because like I actually got
right.
some really good performances from just not giving a shit.
On your TikToks and other interviews, you've shared a like incredible story about your brain tumor and how
Oh yeah.
that almost, that almost made you not be able to pursue music. Can you kind of tell us like about that and maybe how that experience around like when people were, people reacting to you, maybe
Yeah.
not just your personal experience, but how that reaction to you happened, and kind of go from there.
Yeah, so man, this is a story. If you're ready for a story, I got one for you. This is actually several stories combined. I had lots of
Okay.
stories.
I love
Yeah.
it.
Let's get it.
Let's go.
Yeah, so okay, so let's start from 2016. I was in grad school. I went to Berklee College of Music for guitar performance.
Mhm.
And this was like a master's program in Spain or whatever. So I was abroad in Spain. And to add more context to this, this was a couple of years after, actually 1 year after I had broken up with like my longest term girlfriend at the time. And so it takes a long time to get over a 6-year relationship. And
Sure.
so 1 year into like 1 year post breakup, I was lost. I was like, I was planning on graduating from school and possibly like, moving to live with this person. And then the breakup happened. And then I'm like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't, all of a sudden, my plans for the next year, 5 years, 10 years were just gone. Right.
Mm.
And so I didn't know what to do. I'm like, fuck this, I'm going to grad school. Right. And I'm going to grad school abroad. So I went to Spain to get my master's degree. And while I was there, was when I was experiencing the peak of the symptoms that led me to discover that I had a brain tumor, right? So
Yeah.
one of the things about this brain tumor is that the way that it affected my body, it was causing changes to my body over a very slow period of time. And I want to say these changes probably started when I was like 18 years old. And I discovered the brain tumor when I was like 24. So like maybe 6 years of just unadulterated fuck upness from the tumor. And the things that I was noticing over time were like, one, joint pain. Like I had like crazy joint pain. My joints were getting weakened for some reason. My jaw was starting to grow out. I actually started developing an underbite, which was really strange, right? Because like post puberty, your body's not supposed to really change like that. I was growing taller. Post puberty, not supposed to happen. I had like extremely high levels of stress. Just like I think like my body was in a state of like fight or flight for like just forever, for long periods of time. And I was gaining like crazy amounts of weight that like was just unexplained, that I couldn't work out, like I couldn't work it off. No matter how much I dieted, no matter how much I worked out, like I wasn't shedding any weight. And all of these things in isolation seem completely unrelated to each other, right? As one would assume, different parts of your body, like all this stuff. And so I was just like, and of course I had crazy headaches and jaw pain. So like, I was like, something's from stress, something's from something else. I don't know what it was. And I went to the doctors a bunch of times and they're just like, you're young, you're fine. Like, you're just having a hard time. Like,
you're just going through things.
Exactly. Yeah. Here's some ibuprofen. And so it wasn't until I went to grad school in Spain that things started to get really bad for me physically. My underbite was like at an all-time worst. It was so bad to the point where like my teeth weren't touching. So if I would try to eat something, for example, if I were to bite into a piece of pizza, I couldn't physically tear the pizza with my teeth. Like,
Wow.
just because my teeth wouldn't contact, they would just be like, whoop, like that. And so what ended up happening was, like, the pizza, I would try to eat it and all the cheese would slide off. Like, if I tried to bite into a sandwich, like everything would just fall out. You know what I mean? So like I would start to have to like use a fork and a knife to eat things. And it was also really embarrassing to eat in front of my peers. Like, like you don't look really good with an underbite, unfortunately. And of course, the worst thing is it affected my speech and my singing, just because the anatomy has changed. And so I was struggling like crazy, and I was so self-conscious about it. And I was like, I need to get jaw surgery. Like, I need to get this fixed. And so I got jaw surgery in Spain. One, because in the United States, it's not covered by insurance because it's considered cosmetic.
Right.
In Spain, it wasn't covered, but it was significantly cheaper, right? And my mom, bless her heart, sold her car and wired me the money to pay for the jaw surgery.
Wow.
I owe her a Porsche. Like, I don't remember what car she had, but whatever it is, I owe her a Porsche.
Sure.
And so she sold her car to pay for my jaw surgery. And so I did the jaw surgery in the winter of 2016, which was like, you know, the break between the fall and spring semester. So I didn't even go to finals that week. I just like emailed my professors that, hey, like I have to do a major medical operation. I'm not going to be here for finals. They were fine with it. And I got on a train, went to Barcelona, and went in for my surgery by myself. Dumbest shit I've ever done. Don't ever get any type of surgery or medical procedure by yourself, let alone in a foreign country.
That's scary,
let alone a jaw
like
surgery. Right. Let alone a jaw surgery in a language, in a country where you don't speak the language natively, where your mouth is wired shut after the surgery, where you can't even talk anyways. So let me fucking tell you about this night. So prior to the jaw surgery, I knew that the jaw surgery was going to be hell because I was looking up a bunch of other cases and other patients and people that went through the process to see what it would be like. And everyone unanimously agrees that jaw surgery is just a horrendous, horrible process to go through. It's a very, very slow recovery. And you not only don't have access to talking and speech, but you don't have access to eating either. So I knew that I was going to be on a liquid diet for a very long time. I knew that, but I was okay with that because I was like, great, I'll lose some weight. Like I'll drop some pounds. Didn't really work out like that. So like and the thing is, like, I was so like, I'm such a type A person that I'm like, I don't care. I want what I want, and I'll put my body through whatever the fuck it takes to get what I want, type of thing. You know, that's just how I am with everything. And so I was like, okay, like I'll go through the pain and suffering. Like, it's fine. As long as this gets fixed and I can eat and talk and sing, like I'll be fine. Was not fine. Was not fine. It was rough, dude. Okay, so I show up, and the other thing about jaw surgery is I just have braces. Typically, you're supposed to have braces for a year, get jaw surgery, and then continue to have braces for another year. I was doing one of these like experimental programs in Spain where they bypass the first year of braces. They just give you the jaw surgery and then they put braces on afterwards. And there's actually like scientific clinical studies that show that this is possible because after surgery, your body's in a state of extreme healing. And that actually allows like the teeth to move much quicker. Sure. And so my, like, it actually worked. Like my teeth were really straight and they were able to adjust their braces and get me like pretty straight teeth within like a year, which would have been 4 years of braces just because of the surgery. Does not make up for the fact of how horrible this experience was. So basically, I train over to Barcelona, right? And I know that I'm going to be on a liquid diet, and I know that it's going to suck, and I know that I'm going to be by myself. And so the way that the surgery works is I check in for the surgery the night before, do the surgery, I stay for one night, and then the doctor wants to see me in a week after, post surgery. And so for me, I was like, it would be silly for me to get on a train, go back to Valencia, wait there for 4 days, get back on a train, go to Barcelona and see the doctor. That probably would have been the best scenario But for some stupid reason, was like, you know what? I'll just stay in Barcelona for a week. So I got a hotel room down the street from the hospital that I was getting surgery at by myself. And I was like, okay, I'll be great. Like I'm gonna pack all these liquid foods and liquid things to like keep me nourished and stuff. Like I had a bunch of Ensure, like the nutritional drink Ensure.
Yeah.
Except I knew, I was like, oh wait, I can't carry like 2 cases of Ensure with me on the train. So what I need to do is get one of those giant powdered bottles, just like mix it in myself and make the drink out of powder. I didn't count on the hotel room having tiny shot glasses as their only like cups.
Okay.
Oh no.
So what I ended up having to do was like a 12-ounce like serving of Ensure. It took me like an hour of like 1 ounce of water, 1 scoop, mix, drink. 1 ounce of water, scoop, mix, drink. Right. That's basically what I had to do for an entire week. That sucked. But but going back to the actual date of the jaw surgery itself, like I remember checking into the hotel or the hospital, and I'm like on the phone with my mom. It's a time difference. She's in the United States, so she's like, "You sure you don't want me to come see you in Spain and stuff?" I'm like, we literally spent all of our money on this surgery. There's no money for a plane ticket, and like even if we had the money to fly you out here for this, you wouldn't know where to go. Like my mom is not good at English, let alone Spanish. So like she would have just gotten lost in the Madrid airport. And then I would have had to like leave my hospital bed to go find her like at the Madrid airport, which is just not. So I was just like, no, stay home. I'll be fine. I'll survive. Do the surgery. And I wake up the next morning in the hospital bed. And the first thing I notice is my mouth is completely different. It's numb. I actually don't feel any pain at all, but the positioning of everything was just different, and it felt so wrong. Like I could tell that the bite was actually correct. Like my front teeth were above my bottom teeth. All that stuff was right, but it felt wrong. And not only that, but like my mouth was completely wired shut. So like they had like literal wires closing my mouth together. And the reason why they do that is so for the jaw surgery, what they did was they broke my top and my bottom jaw into 6 pieces.
Ugh.
Wow.
And then they removed some bone from the bottom one, rotated it slightly, pushed it back, and then brought the top one forward a little bit.
Okay.
And then they screwed everything in with titanium plates. And then they wired it shut. And the reason why they do that is because your muscles, like the muscles around your jaw, have gotten used to the position that they're in. So if you don't, use titanium to hold it in place, then your muscles will actually force your jaw back into its original position, which was the underbite. And so I had to stay like that for like 6 months. And the thing that none of this was painful at all, because actually it was completely numb. And my face is still kind of numb to this day. The worst part about all of it was just the psychological terror of being in a hospital bed by myself and legitimately feeling like I was suffocating. So what happens was when you go through a jaw surgery like that, your nose just starts gushing blood. That's just what happens when you go through a surgery. Like all that stuff, you just get crazy nosebleeds because like you're operating in this area. And so like, yeah, we're going to start fucking bleeding. So my nose was constantly bleeding, or it would dry up and clog. Right. So I was either snotting blood or just completely congested with dry blood. And so I woke up with a stuffed nose, like the most stuffed and dried my nose had ever been, unable to breathe through my nose. My mouth and face were so completely swollen that my lips were like sealed shut from the swelling. And so like I was physically unable to breathe.
That's fucking scary.
Oh,
Dude, it was terrifying. I was literally unable to breathe. And my teeth were wired shut too. So like there was even less of an air gap for like air to come in and out of.
Yeah.
And so I remember the nurses coming in and out and like asking if I'm okay, in Spanish, by the way. And 1, not being able to respond because I literally can't speak. And 2, I can't find my phone, so I can't even Google Translate. So for the first like hour, I'm just like silently like shallowly breathing, just trying to make sure I like stay alive or whatever. And then like the nurse comes in, it's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she knows that I'm like I start crying, like I'm bawling now. And when I start crying, like blood just gushing out of my nose from, you know what I mean? So like it makes it even worse. And then
Oh no.
and so like she knows that I'm panicking, and so she finally finds my phone and hands it to me. And I write in Google Translate. I'm like, can't breathe. And I show her like I can't breathe. And she's like, oh, normal. And I'm like, I don't care if it's normal. Like I want to be able to breathe.
Yeah.
And
you
so
still
like
can't breathe.
right. And so after suffering for an hour and just like bawling my eyes out, she gets one of those oxygen tubes that they just pull off of the wall and just sticks it in my mouth. And I'm like, oh my God, finally. And so I stick it in the corner where there's like that little gap behind your molars.
Right.
And so like I have a steady stream of air. And let me tell you, the amount of relief that I got from just being able to breathe was like,
no shit.
I can only
I never want to
imagine.
drown. I can't even imagine what it's like to drown, but it's probably like terrifying. And so that was the first night, and already off to a bad start. The other thing that I didn't mention is that after this jaw surgery, you get crazy amounts of swelling, right?
Yeah.
So the bottom half of my face was so swollen that. Do you guys know the movie The Nutty Professor?
Yeah.
With Eddie Murphy? I looked like that. I straight up, like my head was the size of a basketball, and I was so embarrassed to leave the hotel room that I never left, right? The only time I would leave is like 2 a.m. when I just needed to get out of the room, and I would like put up my hood and cover myself and just like walk around Barcelona like that because I didn't want people to see my face. And so I went to the hospital room and I stayed there for a week, and they gave me this medicine this medicine schedule of like every 4 hours you got to take these pills, mix it with water, and whatever, and eat it and swallow and stuff. And that was rough because one, I was told that I shouldn't lay down flat because if I sit up, the swelling goes down faster, and I wanted to get rid of the swelling as fast as possible.
Sure.
So like I was trying to sleep sitting up, not very possible to do when you're like suffering like that, you can't breathe. And then having to wake up every 4 hours to like take my own medicine, mix my own stuff, and that shit sucked, man. And so after a week of that, I went back to the doctor and he was like, yeah, you're fine. I could have stayed home the entire time, but instead I like tortured myself for a whole week for no reason. And so moral of the story is, do not go get any type of surgery by yourself, no matter how minor or major the surgery is. And this is, I haven't even discovered the brain tumor yet. This was just a jaw surgery. Little did I know that this underbite and all of the other like physical ailments that I described earlier were all caused by the brain tumor. And so fast forward after the jaw surgery a couple of months, I'm at the point where I almost drop out of school after this jaw surgery because I had just gone through so much like trauma, like mental, physical, emotional trauma, that I'm just like, I don't know if this is for me. Like, I don't know if I can, do music anymore or whatever. And I didn't know if I should keep going. And so I was fighting myself over the break. I'm like, should I go or should I not? Should I go or should I not? And so I decided that if I were to go back into school, I would stop. I was really insecure about what I decided to do with my music career.
Mm-hmm.
What I realize now, looking back in hindsight, is I spent a lot of time playing guitar, practicing guitar, like getting really good at guitar, to cover up for the fact that I was scared to write my own songs.
Okay.
Scared to sing, scared to be an artist. And when I initially decided to go to grad school, the whole point of that was for me to develop myself into an artist.
Right.
But instead I fell into old habits and was like, oh no, I'll just play guitar for other people, even though I hate playing guitar for other people. And it was just because I was insecure of being an artist. And so after the surgery, I'm like, fuck this. If I'm going back to school, I'm going to like double down and branch off and do my own thing. I'm not going to play guitar for other people anymore. I'm not going to engineer people. I'm not going to produce people. I'm just going to focus on my own thing. And so when I went back to school, I started writing my own music again for the first time ever. And, I had to record my first EP with like literally recovering from jaw surgery, and it was really tough. Like my mouth was completely different. Like, everything felt different. Some of my nerves were like shot, and so like I basically had to like relearn how to sing, I guess.
Sure.
I had to relearn how to like, you know, get different tones out of my voice and get different pitches and stuff. All was a struggle. It took a long time, and I'm still working on it. And so I went back and I started working on like my own music and stuff. And fast forward to like the end of the year, I'm about to graduate, and I would say like a week, maybe 2 weeks before graduation, I started having vision problems. Like my peripheral vision was kind of blurry. Like this area was just like kind of really blurry. And at first I thought it was an eye infection. I thought that like, oh, maybe I just like need to change my contacts or whatever. I would change my contacts. Nothing fixed it. And I'm like, okay, this is weird, a little concerning, but maybe it really is just like an eye infection and I just need to go see the eye doctor.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate in a couple of days now. So I'll graduate, fly home, go see the eye doctor. I need a new prescription anyways. So I'll just knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. So I do that. I graduate, I get the degree, I fly home back to Pennsylvania. The very next morning is when I have my eye appointment, 11 a.m. I remember this day very specifically. This is the day. And so I have timestamps for you too. So the eye doctor's 11 a.m. I show up, I go through like the whole process. They puff air in your eye and all that shit. And then I explain, they're like, is there any problems? Anything you want to talk about? I was like, yeah, I'm like having problems with my vision. Like my peripheral vision is really blurry and I don't really know what's going on. Maybe it's an infection or something. They're like, no, it doesn't really seem like an infection. I would have caught that earlier. And so they're like, well, what we could do is this thing called the field of vision test. And it's just basically a way to like kind of narrow down what the problem could be.
Sure.
And I was okay. They're like, yeah, but it's an extra $50. I'm like, oof, maybe not. And because I just got back from Spain, and
well, right, you only got so much money. Yeah.
That too, but like I also haven't had insurance in the US for like 2 years. So the day after I get back, like I was expecting to pay for the eye doctor out of pocket, but I didn't have medical insurance yet, so I almost said no. But I was like, you know what? Let's just do it. Like, why not? It's probably going to be helpful. If I hadn't done that, they would have never found the tumor. So thank goodness I did, right? So we do the test and they're like, yeah, so it looks like there is something that's behind your eyes that's causing a lot of pressure on your optic nerves. We don't know what it is, but you need to go to the ER right now and get an MRI, like right now. And I'm like, okay, it's weird for an eye infection, but okay. And so I get out, I get out of the appointment. I drive myself to the hospital, which I probably shouldn't have done. I shouldn't have been driving at all. Nope. And I get to the hospital and like they wrote me a note and everything. They're like, oh yeah, they'll see you right away because I'm writing you a note. Didn't do shit, dude. I get into the ER. Does. No, I get into the ER, I show them the note, and I'm like, okay, yeah, it's like they said I have to get an MRI like right now. And they're like, okay. Yeah. They're like, okay, go sit down. Yeah. And I wait for 9 hours. Oh, 9 fucking hours for anyone to call me. This entire time, I'm like waiting and waiting. I hadn't eaten anything. I was just like, I don't know why I waited so long to eat, because like by 3 o'clock, I knew that it had been like 4 fucking hours I've been waiting. I was like, oh, I should have just eaten. But I was under the impression they could call me any minute, so I didn't want to get any food. And so
that's how they get you.
Yeah. And so I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And finally, by like maybe 10 o'clock p.m. at night, they finally call me in to the ER or to the room or whatever. And they ask me like a bunch of questions, like your typical questions. Do you smoke? Do you drink? Et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, no. Okay, explain your problems. Yeah, the doctor said I have problems with my vision. I don't really know why, but they told me to get an MRI. And they're like, that's interesting. Then they take blood tests from me. And they get the blood tests back. And they're like, these blood tests are a little interesting. Let me ask you some more questions. And they start asking really weird questions. They're like, have you ever lactated from your nipples? And I'm like, no, but what does that have to do with my eyes? They're like, don't worry about it. I was like, well, they're like,
I want no.
Wait a minute.
And the next question they ask, what is the next question? They're like, oh, do you ever feel like, joint pain? I'm like, actually, yes, for the past like 6 or 7 years. I'm like, okay. And they're like, you ever notice any like sudden changes in weight? I was like, yeah, for the last 6 or 7 years. And so like start asking these questions that I'm answering yes to, that I still don't think have anything to do with my eyes. And they finally get around to, okay, we should get you into an MRI. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to eat. And so I tell them, strap me up, put me in the machine. Let's get the fuck out of here. They're like, okay, great. Do you have any like metal or anything in your mouth? I'm like, no, well, I had jaw surgery and there's like metal in my mouth from there. They're like, okay, well, we still have to inject you with this thing called contrast. So I don't know if either of you have had MRIs before, but sometimes
Maybe.
they inject you with contrast, which is literally something that they do to dye your blood vessels to make it change it to a different color so that it shows up on the MRI better.
Yeah.
They can see it better. Turns out I'm allergic to that.
Oh no.
And so I'm in the machine inside this freaking tube, and I start breaking out in hives. Like everything is itchy, like my neck is itchy, my face is like bumps all over it, and they immediately pull me out. They're like, dude, we didn't know you were allergic to this. I was like, I didn't either. I've never had an MRI.
Yeah.
And so they pull me out and they're able to get some of the images, right? But I'm like, were we able to find anything? As I'm like scratching myself to bloody hell. And they're like, yeah, this it looks like there's a 4 centimeter lesion at the base of your brain. And like I just like freeze. I like mentally check out. Like everything just drains from my face. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what does that mean? What is a lesion? And they're like, it basically just means that there's something there that shouldn't be there. I'm like, okay, well, what is it? They're like, we don't know. We need to run some more tests, get some more images, but it could be a couple of things. It could be just spinal fluid that needs to get drained. It could just be what they call an adenoma, which is just a benign brain tumor.
Sure.
And then they said it could be cancer. And they said the C word, and I just completely checked out. And so what ended up happening then is my mom was in there at the time. And you don't want your mom in the room with you when they tell you that you might have cancer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's how you get your answers, man.
Yeah.
Mom. My mom immediately starts bawling and leaves the room. And because she just heard that her son might have brain cancer,
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know how to comfort her. I don't know how to comfort myself. Like, it's really scary. It was probably the scariest moment of my life. I remember calling my dad, telling him, hey, like they found a brain tumor. They don't know if it's cancerous or not. And my dad is the type of person that always has something to say. Like he always has like, some sort of advice or something to tell you. And he was just like, oh, okay. When are you going to find out? Like, what are they going to do? And I didn't have any answers for him. And it was like the most silent I'd ever heard my dad ever. Just speechless.
Yeah.
That was more uncomfortable than anything, having to tell like my friends and family that like, hey, there's a chance I might have brain cancer. So that part sucked. And I remember and then so like I remember asking them, I was like, hey, like how do we rule out cancer? Like what do we do? Like, well, we have to get more tests done on you. We have to get we got to do a CAT scan, all that stuff. And I was like, okay, great, let's go. Throw me in the machine. They're like, well, we can't because you're allergic to the dye. We don't know what else you're allergic to. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, I want to get this. I want to rule this out right now. Like, I want to know that I'm going to be alive tomorrow. And they can't do that because, they don't know if I'm going to freaking suffocate in the machine from this allergic reaction.
Sure.
And so what they had to do was inject me with pre-medication and like basically like a liquid form of Benadryl. And they have to let it run in my system for 8 hours before they can do more scans. And so I'm like, okay, great. It's like midnight now. And I'm like, so we're not doing anything for the rest of the night. Can I get food? Can I like order room service or whatever? Because like it's a hospital, they'll bring you food. And they're like, no. I'm like, what the fuck? I haven't eaten since literally yesterday, actually more than 24 hours ago. And they're like, well, no, because if we find out that it's cancer, we have to operate on you in the morning. And you can't have anything in your stomach because the anesthesia. You can't have anything in your stomach when you get surgery. So I literally I was like, dude, knock me the fuck out. I was like, give me sleep medication, put something in that IV, just put me to sleep like right now. I don't want to wake up until I'm out of the machine tomorrow. And so like they obliged. They knocked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
And then like woke up the next morning, did the machine or whatever. Obviously, it's not cancer. I'm still here. So we find out that it's not cancer, but what we found out was it was a tumor in my pituitary gland, which is the gland of your brain that basically controls all of your hormone production. And so what I found out was that my body was producing extremely high levels of growth hormone. And so the disease is called acromegaly, which the slang term for it is gigantism.
Okay.
And so left unchecked, I would have been gigantic.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tallest
that's
pop punker in the land.
I know,
Yeah.
dude. Right? But what ended up so that's what caused the underbite. It's literally what caused my jaw to grow out.
Wow.
It also caused me to grow a couple of inches, which was nice. But the downside of that was that because it was after I had gone through puberty, after you go through puberty, like your joints and your platelets are done. Like they're not meant to like be to stretch or separate. So like my body was growing, but those ligaments and those platelets were like, no, we're staying right here. And
we're done.
Yeah. And so that fucks up my joints really bad. So that was what caused all the joint issues.
Okay.
And because hormones, so I had really high levels of cortisol all the time, which is the stress hormone. So my body was I was literally stressed all the time just because my body was overproducing that hormone. I wasn't producing any testosterone at all. So like I was gaining weight because of that, like crazy. I was unable to lose weight because of that. I was also depressed because of that. So like just a million things. My thyroid stopped working, so I don't have like. So now, so we had the surgery for it. We got the surgery done. It was a couple of months after we found out that we had the tumor, and when they removed the tumor, this is actually one of the craziest things. Is I remember going in to get the surgery, and I remember them wheeling me into the operating room, and then I didn't wake up until I was getting wheeled out back in the hallway. And I remember waking up and I remember seeing like them wheeling me past this orange couch in the hallway. And it was the brightest orange I'd ever seen. It was so vibrant. And then I realized that I could like see like full spectrum. I could see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like my peripheral vision was gone. But like what I didn't realize was that this tumor was so big that it was like obstructing everything. And so like colors were more vibrant, like my field of vision was wider, everything was more clear and focused, and I like had no idea. I just thought it was like my peripheral vision was fucked, but like it was so gradual, like I didn't realize that like everything was really gray to me. And so that was one of the like craziest like experiences, just waking up and being able to see and that being the reason that I even discovered that I had this brain tumor in the first place. And so now I'm under a fuck ton of medication. Like just it's like it's you know, they did what they could. They removed the tumor successfully, but like the damage was done type of thing. So it's like
you've
I'm
been
on like
dealing with it for years.
Forever. So yeah, exactly. So now I have like I'm on medication that I have to take every single day. Like some of it's like pretty like casual. Like if I miss it, I'm fine. I just gotta re-up. Other ones are not so. Like if there's like 2 medications that I have to take every day, and if I don't take them, I could literally pass out and die, which is the dumbest thing. Like why does your body do that to you? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I've had a couple of close calls from me just being stupid and forgetful and neglecting my health sometimes, which I'm known to do apparently. So yeah, it's a sometimes scary thing. And you know, at this point, like it's maybe 3 years since my surgery. So at this point, it's really all automatic for me. But I do get some reminders that are really scary. Like sometimes if I go for more than too long without taking my cortisol medication, because my body doesn't produce cortisol anymore,
Mhm.
I will feel really weak, but I
Okay.
won't feel, and I won't know why, and I don't know why I don't make this connection more often. And I'll literally just pass out and have a seizure, like if I don't like take it. And that
Wow.
happened to me once during the pandemic. My own fault, of course, because I just forgot to take the medication.
Right.
But it's just, something that I just gotta do for the rest of my life. And that part is annoying.
Yeah. Wow.
Hmm.
That's quite the
Yeah.
that's quite a block of life you went through there.
Yeah, I have so many stories. It's kind of crazy. I don't know how I'm still here, to be honest.
Just you're meant to be. I guess
That's
I
it.
guess
Yeah, that's
I'll
it.
take that. Yeah.
that's what you got. You're meant to be. So one of the things you had brought up in that story is those you had came back, you started working on music. So I'm assuming that when you started working on music, you were working on your first album, which was called Nostalgia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about your introduction to the pop punk emo scene? What made you want
Oh,
to
yeah.
be a pop punk artist?
So, okay, so here's another thing too. Growing up, I lived in a very, very urban setting. Like I went to a city school. And so like at my school, there wasn't really very many people that listened to anything in the rock or punk genre of music. It was very much
Mhm.
hip hop and pop and R&B.
Right.
And so I was a very closeted guitar rock head.
Sure.
And there was never like, I was never in any bands in high school because there was no one to be in a band with, right? Um,
Hmm.
and so um, one, I think one of the first things that really got me into pop punk was Story of the Year.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
and my cousin loved Story of the Year. And my cousin doesn't really like pop punk music. He just, for some reason, really liked a couple of their songs. He would play them every day, like every
Right.
morning. And so like that's like my first introduction. I would listen to more Story of the Year. Um, I got really into a bunch of, the John Feldman produced bands like the Goldfingers. And
Mhm.
of course, like, the Paramores and the MCRs and the Fall
Right.
Out Boys, the Panics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have played just about every single My Chemical Romance song. I've learned every single song at this point, and I performed it at least once, like whether it was like senior recitals at school or like cover songs and stuff. And so in high school, I was obsessed with My Chemical Romance.
Okay.
And I played the hell out of their songs, and I wanted to be Ray Toro so bad. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got started with like pop punk music. So very
Sure.
very much the 2000 emo pop punk.
Mine was Green Day.
Oh,
It was 90s. It was
Classic.
and plus, I mean, like I'm not very good at guitar, and you don't have to be super good at guitar to play Green Day.
that's
Especially 90s Green Day.
Especially
yeah.
90s Green Day.
I think
Absolutely.
the first Green Day song I ever learned was Holiday.
Okay. I mean,
It's a
that's
good
yeah.
song.
Mine was Basket Case.
Oh yeah.
Dookie. So like
Loved it.
I mean, I remember when that album came out. So like that was like one of my first introductions to pop punk music. So Matt, what about you? What was yours?
My first introduction to pop punk music
Yeah.
was the 2004 Catalyst album by Newfound Glory.
Oh.
That's a good one.
I still remember going to Target and buying that CD.
You bought it? You bought a CD? Wow.
I did.
Brings
I
me
was a
back.
young child.
I don't know if I've ever bought a CD.
Oh, I have
I
so
don't think I
many
ever owned a
CDs.
CD.
I do too.
I was one of those people that like, don't sue me, pirated music and would burn my own songs.
I got plenty of those too.
Yeah,
Well,
like I
Plenty of
don't. Yeah.
mixtapes.
I've got tons of stuff like that, but I mean, I'm an old boy here. I came from the like I was around before there were CD. I mean, there were CDs, but like I still had fucking cassette tapes. I had Dookie on cassette tape. So
My God.
yeah, I'm an
Jeez.
old boy, an old soul, as they say.
Two generations of musical formats.
Man.
cassette, CD, and now we're in streaming.
Yeah.
And records again. I remember thinking records were never even going to come back. I was
So
like,
do I.
dead media.
Yeah.
Who's laughing now?
Well, it's so interesting too, because like everything about vinyl records just screams inefficiency, right? Like it's just they're expensive to press, they're expensive to ship, they're fragile, they get scratched easily, and the cost of entry is pretty high. You got to spend a couple $100 for a record player plus speakers. So it's like, in spite of all of that, the pure novelty of vinyl records is just, there's just something about owning a vinyl record of your favorite artist that just, there's just something special about it. And
right. And it's got a different sound. It really does.
It really does.
Like, that's what, all like, my dad and all that. Oh, it's got a nice warm sound. Like, it does. You're right.
It does. No, it really does. And that there's obviously there's science behind that for sure.
Right.
Like that's a real thing. It's because of the way that the needle moves on the grooves inside of the vinyl, and because of the level that they have to master vinyl records too is going to be so much less than digital. So because if it's too much, the needle just jump off the record. Right. So all of those components plus the sheer, like every single physical aspect of that machine is giving that sound it's a characteristic. Like everything from the needle to the arm to the wires, the transformers, like the speakers, the components, like all of that stuff adds its own character to it. Whereas like on your phone, it's like phone, like how much Wi-Fi do you have? And then like, do you have AirPods or not? Like those are like the two things that dictate how your sound is nowadays.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Kind of moving on. In other interviews, you've said you've struggled with imposter syndrome. A lot dealing with different parts of your life, maybe in Berkeley, or I'm sure going to New York or LA, that can also come up. How do you deal with this, or how do you overcome that?
I don't know if there's a proper answer for that, because the way that I view imposter syndrome, there's like two like trains of thought that I have with imposter syndrome. The one is sometimes imposter syndrome is kind of good because it shows that you're still humble, right? Like it shows that you're still a little modest and you're still humble and you still don't think that you're just like the shit. Right. And I think everybody needs a healthy dose of that. Not because they need to have humility and not be a jackass to other people, but it's so that you can continue to grow, right? It's so that you still maintain that hunger to get better. Because if you think you're the shit, then you're not going to want to get better because you're already going to think you're the best. So there's that aspect of it where I think sometimes imposter syndrome is a little bit helpful. Although it might not be the best term to call it, imposter syndrome. But the other side of that is when it gets to the point where it paralyzes you from doing anything. Right. And you kind of have to like straddle the line between like humility and being so scared about coming off as an imposter that you just don't do anything. And I've been in both situations. And at the end of the day, so like imposter syndrome for me usually stems from the thing that you're most insecure about yourself. Like I'm not insecure about my guitar playing at all. I can get on stage and play guitar for hours and like I'll be fine. Like I'll fuck up, but like I won't be embarrassed by it. However, I am sometimes deathly afraid of singing live. Even though if you come to one of my shows, you won't be able to tell, right? You come to one of my shows, like there's like I don't know what it is, but I flip a switch and I just like all of a sudden I'm really comfortable most of the time. And however, that still doesn't change the fact that like I'm really self-conscious about my singing sometimes, and it comes from the fact that I haven't spent nearly as many hours singing as I have playing guitar. And also like I've had like 3 major surgeries on my head and in that area that like also affect my singing. And so there's like all these like layers that like affect my confidence in my vocal ability.
Sure.
And the thing that I do to come up, like to get over that is a couple of things. One is I'm always trying to get better. Like I'm always practicing. Like I know that when you have spent enough time practicing, not being good at something and then practicing and then becoming good at it, you can kind of realize that you can do that with anything, right? And so like for me, I know that like, yeah, I may suck at singing right now, but like if I keep doing this in a year or two, I might be really good. And having that like, you know, mentality in the back of my head is something that really keeps me going. Because I know that if I keep doing it, it's only a matter of time until I'm good or I'm better or at a level that like I'm okay with. And I'm a pretty like when it comes to trying to get better, I'm pretty disciplined with it. Like when I was practicing guitar, like I used to practice like 7, 8 hours a day. Like when I was like at my like in college, like I can't do that anymore. I'm old. But back in the day, I could do that, and I know that like somewhere in me, like I have the capability. If I need to get good at something, I can. I just got to put in the work.
Right.
So knowing that I had that capability really does take the edge off of the imposter syndrome, because like I may suck today, but I may not tomorrow. And the other thing is that like I almost fucking died, man. You know what I mean? It's just like it's like when you go through those experiences of like, dude, I thought I was like sending my dad goodbye text that night in the hospital bed. Like I was like signing out on my life. Like I was like, and I was scared too. Like I wasn't doing it out of like pettiness, out of like, oh, they're gonna miss me when I'm gone. It was like I was legitimately like, I was like scared shitless, thinking that I was gonna die the next day. And so when you have that type of fear, everything pales in comparison to that. Like no matter how much I told myself, like, you know, we joke, student loans suck. Like I'm gonna go walk into a street. Like, you know what I mean? Like we joke.
Yeah,
but like when you put in that situation, all bets are off and things are completely different. And so like having that experience and knowing what it feels like to like legitimately feel like things could end tomorrow, all of a sudden imposter syndrome doesn't feel like a big deal anymore, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, and so like that was when I was like, you know what? I want to be an artist. And like I literally have already almost died before I even got started, right?
Right.
Like I had spent a decade in school practicing music, learning music, playing for other people. And the moment I decide to do things for myself, I'm in the fucking hospital. And so like I effectively could have died before I ever even released a song. And I'm like, fuck that. Like I don't want to live a life where I'm scared to do stuff more. And so like those are like the things that kind of, you know, put things in perspective for me.
Yeah, and kind of how you said that I can do it, I can work for it. I know if I need to, I can put the time in. You know, we read that you actually went to a Steve Vai masterclass where he talked about manifestation and the law of attraction. Do you think that kind of helped like build like this baseline where you were like, you know what, I'm gonna do this?
Yeah. So I have a weird, interesting relationship with Steve. Not like actual relationship. I don't know him in real life. I wish.
Sure.
We collect comics. We trade comics.
You know, like
I get Iron Man.
We have
Wolverine. We trade. You know.
We have chicken wings on Friday.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he's a vegetarian too. But no, but like I have this interesting relationship with Steve Vai where like he was my goat. Like he was he probably still is, to be honest, for a lot of people. And I base so much of my stuff off of him. But the thing is, like when I went to that master class when I was really young, I was like 17 years old or something. And this was before I even decided to do music as a career. I went in there thinking I was going to get like lessons, like this is how you play a dominant, like a hybrid dominant scale on this like string or whatever. That's what I was ready for, right?
Right.
Yeah.
He played like 2 songs, didn't say anything about. He was like, I'm not going to talk about music theory or guitar. You can find that on YouTube. You don't need that from me. He's like, what I am going to tell you is how to retrain your brain to think positive thoughts that will continue to attract positive thoughts. And so like his whole spiel is like, you know, there's like an element of spiritualism to it because he's a very spiritual person, but most of it was really grounded, where it's like anything that you look at can be perceived in a different way, even if it's negative. And so, and his his thing was like the law of attraction of thoughts. So if you think negative thoughts, you'll think more negative thoughts, and those negative thoughts will attract more negative thoughts, and then you go into this vicious cycle of like negativity, which is basically what depression is.
Right.
And but on the on the opposite side of that, if you think positive thoughts, you will continue to attract positive thoughts, and so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that depression is as simple as changing your perspective, because there's actual chemical imbalances in your brain that causes depression. And so for me, it was like hearing him go through his story about like how he didn't start guitar until he was, I don't know, like 12 years old. And when he did, all he did was practice like 10 or 15 hours a day. And like when he did that, like he got really good. And I'm just like, wait, so all you have to do is practice a lot to get better at things? So I started doing that and I got better at things, and the better you get at something, the more fun it becomes, right?
Yep.
And the more fun it becomes, the more positive thoughts you have. And then you're like, wait, if I can do this, then maybe I can do this too, right? And so there is an element of like that law of positive thoughts, because like if you do something positive and you're having fun, you're going to continue to have positive thoughts, and you're going to want to do more fun things that will in turn attract more fun things. And so for me, it was like playing guitar is really fun. I want to know what it's like to play in front of people. Play in front of people. Wow, that's really fun. I want to keep doing that. Get better. Keep playing in front of people. I want to play in front of more people. And so like then you just like kind of figure out, okay, so like what is the thing that you think will make you the most happiest? And for me, it's always been playing music live, like touring and stuff. Yeah. And so you kind of like I make that my end goal, and I figure out, like I work my way backwards, like how do I get from where I am to that point? And you just like study. And so I studied profusely, not like academic study, like I studied other artists, like I studied like their
what
career.
What are these guys doing?
Yeah, or like this is where they are now, but where were they 3 years ago? Where did they play? Like what was their cap? Like were they signed or were they not signed? Did they have representation? Did they have agents? What were their stream numbers like? Okay, so it looks like at this point in their career they had these stats. Okay, so let me see if I can try to get similar stats by the same point in my career. And I just do that with everything and everyone that I like, that I respect. And that's just kind of how I like reverse engineered my career trajectory.
Nice.
I mean, that's smart. And the thing is like, whenever we have people that ask us, questions like that all the time as well. And it's as when I even got to where I am just today, it's like I looked at people that I look up to. What the hell did you do? Like even learning how to perform live, I looked up Newfound Glory. Okay, well, how do they play live? Well, okay, I'll do. Oh, they jump. Okay, I can jump.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's okay if you sound like shit and jump. Oh, that's okay. I can do that.
Even better.
Yeah. And you know what? And that's the thing. And sometimes you're better than them at what they do, and sometimes you're not, and sometimes you can't do that.
Yeah.
And so like, and that's always the thing that sucks too. It's like for me, like one of the things that I like to do is I'm a weird performer. Like I don't think I look very cool at all. And I have like no control over the way my body moves sometimes when I'm on stage.
Sure.
But like when I look up videos and stuff, I look up like, how does Hayley Williams perform when she's live? And I'm like, wait, I can't do that. Like I don't have that type of body. And I also like I can't dance that way. Like I just physically can't. So I'm like, okay, but what I can take from her is like her energy, her rapport, and like the way she controls the crowd. Right. And I'm like, well, what about Gerard Way? How does he perform live? And so like, then it just becomes like a hodgepodge of like the things that I can do, the things that I want to do from other people and stuff like that. And I think that's just exactly how people develop their musical style as well.
Right. Because you learn when you're figuring out who you are is by usually, especially as a musician, is by learning what the people you look up to doing. And eventually you just become your own.
Yep.
Exactly. You take the things that you've learned and just be you.
Yep. Because what are we if we're not just like the culmination of everything that came before us, right? Because like people
in every aspect.
In every, I mean, your parents, like you are literally one half your mom, one half your dad. Like that's the least original thing I've ever heard. You're literally clones of someone else. Like
none of
how
us are original
exactly.
in any form. In any
Exactly.
form.
So if you can like if I understand that there are people that are extremely original or whatever you want to call it, that write music that's like I've never heard of this before, and that happens, but that isn't
They
because
learned
they're
from someone though. Like there's
exactly.
no one is 100% original anymore, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you can always create a new original.
Yep.
Like
I
absolutely.
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know, there's no way to be 100% original because there's thousands of artists and musicians out there. Somebody's already made this.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Hollywood can't even make an original movie anymore to save their life. They're all remakes. You know, it's okay. This is where we are. That's okay. You know, but like music is so great because everybody's completely different and has such a what one person's thought process for could be for like you could be like, okay, here are the notes to this song. I'm not going to tell you how to play it. I'm not going to tell you. And 9 times out of 10, they're all going to be completely different.
Yep. Yeah. And on top of that, it's like every person's voice is unique. Like every person's like their playing is like their finger size is different. So it's going to sound different on the guitar. Like every guitar, it's different, right? Like two Fender Strats don't sound alike, even if they're exact same model and type. It's just the way the world works.
Absolutely. And with that, we got one more question for you, and then we're going to move on to our next segment.
Let's do it.
If you could give our listeners one piece of advice that you know now that you wish you had known when you were first starting out, what would that be?
Oh man.
Just one. You just get one. No, just kidding.
Wait, who is this for again? Fans or for like other artists that are like looking
our listeners, which I would say most of our listeners more often than not are the other musicians.
Okay. Don't blow your money on PR. It's not fucking worth it. The only time that is worth it to spend money on PR is when it's too expensive for you to be able to pay for yourself. In which case you should have some sort of label or somebody pay for it for you. Because in most cases, and also in today's climate, like PR means nothing. Press means virtually nothing, because look at the outlets that are currently like, you know, the outlets that we look at, like NME, All Press, like, you know, New Noise and stuff like that. Like they're all becoming influencers. Like every single one of those channels are influencers, right? So it's not about getting articles anymore. So don't blow your money on press because it's not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, well, especially, you know, in the age of like podcasts and different forms of like media, like you can get yourself out there for free. Just go talk to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And be a human about it.
Yeah.
Be a straight up human about it. Like being a human to other humans is going to get you way further than like trying to establish a relationship, like a professional client relationship.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we get messages just even like just as us, you know, as Unsigned Pop Punk, we get messages, you know, multiple messages a day from people, and I'm so much more apt to like starting conversation with somebody that's like just wants to talk, doesn't just send. If you just send me a link, I'm literally not even gonna look at it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That's the worst,
will not
dude.
look at it if you just send me a link. I think that's so rude.
Yeah.
I think it's disrespectful. It's like just be like, say hi. Fucking say hi to me. Jesus. You know?
that's the thing that like that's the thing that like I've learned the most is that like, you know, everyone always says that the music industry is a connections place, not like a talent place. And that's for the most part very true. Like everybody is talented. Everybody is talented. It's like everybody can record a hit song nowadays. And that's a great thing. That really is a great thing. But the thing that really sets you apart from people nowadays, from what I'm learning, is who you know, how you know them, and how often you're around them, and how you treat other people, really. And it's like, you know, I know people that are um that are not the best live performers, but they're like playing in front of 20-30,000 people like a night. And it's nothing to do with like their talent or their singing capabilities. It's just like they were ready, they had the right attitude, they were human beings. And sometimes being a horrible human being around the right person can also like net you things, and that's unfortunate. Because there's good and bad things about the music industry, and there's a lot of bad things too that we don't talk about, and we won't have to talk about it right now. But
right.
Yeah.
For me, it's always a be a human to people, because like at the end of the day, it's music is something that connects people to people. It's an emotion inducing experience, right? Like you listen to music to experience emotions, and emotions are things that humans experience. So if you're going to be a robot to somebody about something that is inherently human, like human emotions, what are you doing? It's like, it's one thing to connect with a software engineer about coding, right?
Right.
But like, it's another thing to be like, talk to like an A&R person or a manager and be like, hey man, like check out these numbers, right? Like just sending you a link, here are the numbers.
That's that's the thing, is like, I am 100% more apt to acknowledge you and pursue a conversation with you if you're just a person. Like, if you want to be on our podcast, if you want us to check out your music, just send me a message and be like, hey, I was just wondering, hey, like, here's a link, you can check us out. If you send me a giant email full of your so-called accolades, it just looks like you're gloating to me.
Yeah.
And to me, I'm not interested in that. Like, I don't like that. I just want to talk to you.
Yeah. And there's a time and place for that, right? Like there's a time and place for that. And it's knowing when to do that, right? Like I like to call that like the resume, like the job application. Because sometimes like when you're pitching to people, you do have to like frame it like I'm pitching like myself as an applicant on a job. Like here's my resume, here's my numbers, here's all that stuff. But if it's like something like this where like that the product is you and the person on a podcast having a normal conversation about things like humans do, then that's probably not the best way to introduce yourself, right? Right? Because like inherently you're going to end up on a podcast speaking like this, having a conversation. If you can have a normal conversation through email, why would I want to have a conversation with you in real life?
Right. Agreed. And all those points, fantastic. So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with our next segment.
Hey, Pat here with Unsigned Pop Punk. We're a community dedicated to building up the music scene by shining a spotlight on up-and-coming bands. Now, I know what you must be thinking. These guys must be raking in the cash. Wrong. But you can help us help others by picking up some merch. We found what big business is selling shirts for, and we slashed the prices. We saw what people are charging for sweatshirts, and we windmill kicked those prices in the face. So pick up some merch from us today. You won't be mad you did.
And we're back. That first half of the show was very deep,
a little heavy,
very heavy.
Sorry about that.
No, it's good. Don't apologize. We asked the questions, man. We knew what we were getting into.
Wanted that. That's what we wanted.
We're ready. This was deep. This was in depth. I'm hoping someone cried.
Oh no!
They should. I hope someone did.
If somebody cries, please let me know. I'll send you like a sympathetic T-shirt.
In the comments. If you've cried, let us know, and let's rock talk about it. Let's just chat. But now we're gonna move on to like our next segment. This is an obscure question segment. If you've listened to the show before, we ask some pretty weird questions from time to time. I do think I've got some pretty okay ones this time. This first one, we're gonna start out a little easy though.
Okay. Throw you a softball, get you in there.
Yeah, we're just gonna toss a little ball. easy
I'm ready.
swing and a hit here. What is one thing that you miss? You haven't been in LA super long.
Couple of months.
So what is one thing that you currently miss most about living on the East Coast?
Pizza.
Mm.
Pizza. Oh my God.
That's the first thing that I could think of. I was like,
Yeah.
pizza.
Dude, I have been craving a slice of like New York pizza for 4 months, and I just can't.
What's the spot?
Yeah. What's the
What's
hot
the
spot?
spot?
All right. So in Brooklyn, in the neighborhood of Park Slope, there is this pizza shop called Luigi's.
Okay.
And apparently it's famous. Didn't know that when I was living down the street from it. So for me, it was just the pizza shop up the street.
Sure.
But as I, started to go there more often and get a slice every now and then, I noticed that there were always cameras there. There was always interviews there. And I looked it up, and this place has won a lot of awards. There's been a lot of movies and stuff. And it's not one of those places where it's like, oh, it was in a movie, so now people go there. It was like, no, people go there, and it's now in a movie because people go there.
Is this the pizza place from the Ninja Turtles?
I don't think so.
Oh
No.
man, I want to know what that pizza place was.
Um,
That slice, look.
I'm telling you, dude, if you are ever in Brooklyn, New York, get on the R train, get off at 25th Street, walk up Fifth Avenue. And I want to say it's like Fifth Avenue and like 19th Street or whatever in Brooklyn, and go to Luigi's and get yourself a fresh mozzarella slice. That's what they call it. It's called fresh mozzarella.
Just cheese?
It's basically a margarita pizza, but
oh, okay, sure.
but they add like this I don't know what to call it, but it's almost like this pesto sauce, but it's not really pesto.
Okay.
It's almost like this like kind of green olive oil topping that they like spray on the pizza. It's the best pizza I think I've ever had in New York to this day.
I'm starting to really think about this, Matt. Now I'm starting to think that starting in season 3, we're just gonna have to do away with obscure questions, and this is just gonna be our food section.
Dude. I mean, we were talking about wings earlier.
No, for
Man.
real. I can't even express how many questions in the obscure questions are just always about food. Like
yeah.
And I would say at least a good 40% of them are Taco Bell related.
Oh, I love dude, moving here, I've had more Taco Bell than I've ever had. And it's because I have a car.
What about Del Taco? Have you Del Taco'd yet?
No, I have, and I have not been a fan.
No.
I
know it's a famous like California place, but I've never been there, and I know that it's like famous for being really bad.
It's comically bad. It's comically bad it's comical because it still exists when Taco Bell is right there. Right.
I mean, they have to have something redeeming, right? To be open
I don't know.
for
I haven't had it
least
yet.
30, 40
I think
years.
I almost want to say it's cheaper than Taco Bell, but Taco Bell's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So like I don't really know.
Okay.
I haven't had anything good from there. There are like things are edible, right? Like
Yeah.
like if there were no Taco Bell, I would be okay with getting Del Taco every now and then, but there's literally no excuse. Like Taco Bell does everything that Del Taco does, but just better.
And not only that, but in California, you've also got Jack in the Box, right? There's Jack in the Box. So I mean, if you're not going to go to Taco Bell, you might as well get those 50-cent tacos from there, because those gotta be better than Del Taco.
Del Taco ones, I haven't had them yet.
Dude, Jack in the Box tacos are fucking great.
Really? I gotta try them.
They're okay.
Oh, they're so
man.
I don't know.
I heard that they're great in a horrible kind of way. It's like
yes, absolutely, 100%. Like you don't go there and you're just like, oh fuck yeah, this is like a 2 a.m. stop, and you're like, I need at least 12 tacos and really bad tacos.
So there's this like that's also my thing about fast food. It's like when you go to a fast food place, like you're not going there for cuisine, right? Like you're like when you want a burger, you don't go to McDonald's. Like
When I go to a burger, if I was in California, I'd be going to In-N-Out.
In-N-Out, right?
For cuisine.
So In-N-Out's great, by the way. Like, it's everything people say it is.
I agree.
It's probably the best fast food burger I've had.
Hands down.
I would say it's very close to like Shake Shack quality, but
Shake Shack's good
like
too.
Wendy's prices. And that's the real thing about In-N-Out is that it's really cheap, and it's still cheap. I don't really understand. Like, you can get a burger for like $4, which is unheard of. But like the thing is, like, yeah, like when you go to McDonald's, it's because you specifically want McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Like McDonald's has its own taste. If you want a burger, you go to a grill, you go to a pub, you go to a bar, right?
Right.
And so like it's almost to the point where you can't even classify them as burgers or cheeseburgers or whatever. You just have to literally call it the brand that it is, because they all have their own distinct taste.
I agree.
And that's what I realized about pizza here. The best pizza I've had so far here is Domino's. I'm quite ashamed to say it.
Like, even like, have you had like California Pizza Kitchen?
No, because I was never a fan of California Pizza Kitchen, which is also baffling to me too, because California has the worst fucking pizza in the country. So why would there be a company based off of that? Makes no sense.
I mean, it's like, don't get I only bring that up because I assume that would have to be better than Domino's, but
probably.
I also can fuck with Domino's pretty hard.
I fuck with Domino's too, but because Domino's is its own thing, right? Like when you want pizza, for me, when I say I want pizza, I want a slice from the fucking shop down the street in New York.
Yeah.
When I want Domino's, I want Domino's specifically for the Domino's taste. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I never say I want pizza and get Domino's. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah,
of course.
So I think that like I think fast food in this country has developed such it's so meta in the way that it's made and processed and like the taste that it has, like that, like one, we're like literally scientifically fed to crave this stuff, because once we have it in our system, like our brain catalogs the endorphins that we get from eating that specific thing, and it's like literally chemically engineered to taste a certain way. And you can go to any place in the country and more or less, if it's from McDonald's, it's gonna taste like McDonald's, which is baffling to me. Like how is a McDonald's in Arkansas going to taste the same as a McDonald's in Florida? I don't know. But
MSG.
Right, it just goes against the law of nature, to be honest. But somehow that's the case. And so like this fast food is like, it's become its own thing, its own category of food. So I can't classify like any of those fast food places as like burgers or whatever.
I feel that.
Nice. So Matt,
you take this next weirdo.
This is the hardest question you're gonna get asked. Any interview.
I don't know. My next one's pretty intense though.
I'll give him that. It's pretty intense. So you talked about you were in LA. You have a car now. This is a 2-part question. We're pretending cars are not real, and you have 2 choices of vehicles for your mode of transportation.
Okay.
You can either ride a giraffe or an elephant. And what are the advantages or disadvantages of the preferred method you're choosing?
Okay. I think I want to go with elephant. Because elephants are extremely smart, extremely intelligent. And I think they're like smart enough to be able to sympathize with humans. So I think an elephant would just give a shit more, you know? And
100%.
Yeah. A giraffe would be cool, but I don't really know enough about giraffes. Plus, like here in LA, there aren't any trees that a giraffe could eat from, so it'd probably just die eventually. Like it's not going to reach a palm tree, right?
My other thought though is the fact. First off, I've never seen anybody ride a giraffe. Now that doesn't mean anything, but I've never seen anyone ride a giraffe. And elephants, seen plenty of people ride elephants, so you know that they know what they're doing. Now, I feel like a giraffe, it's still gonna try and fucking eat from those trees, and I don't think you're gonna get any. I think the elephant's gonna go faster. So the giraffe's gonna be fucking around trying to get shit out of trees with its long ass neck.
Yeah.
I don't.
Very good point.
I think it'd be a horrible employee.
I mean, and also like if we
as a vehicle,
if we want to talk about animal kingdom shit, like giraffes get hunted down way more frequently than elephants do. So like I'm not trying to be on a giraffe while I get like mauled by a fucking lion, you know? So
And
no one's
elephants
gonna
got
fuck
that
with an
big ass
elephant.
tusks that can fight back.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
got there's
No one's gonna mess with an elephant.
There's
so
no
much-
LA traffic with the elephant.
no. People are getting out of the way for that elephant. They don't
Dang.
want their Teslas scuffed up with those tusks.
No. Elon Musk does that himself from the factory.
There you go. So this is our last obscure question.
Okay.
We'll have to see what you think here. So
Go for
if
it.
you could have a superpower, but you could only choose from these three options, what
Mhm.
would you choose? Bonus points if you can give yourself a superhero name off of the power you choose. So the first one, you
Okay.
could either have super eating, so you can eat and digest any form of matter.
Okay.
The second one would be you would have the ability to stop all clocks within hearing distance. Now, not time, just stop clocks.
Okay.
Or 3, have removable limbs that can be used as weapons.
Hmm. Okay, run me through them again.
Okay. First one was super eating, digest any form of matter. Ability to stop all clocks, or 3, removable limbs that can be used as weapons.
Okay. I think the first one, super eating.
Super eating.
Yeah, because I don't know what type of world we're in, right? In this scenario,
this
I don't know if
world. We are
okay,
in
good. Okay, so there's no situation where I'm going to have to remove my limbs to fight someone, right? That's just probably not going to happen. In which case, I would just carry a fucking gun or something.
Did you vote today? Shit, man.
That's fair.
Come on.
That is fair. That is fair. That is true. However, it might actually be a detriment to remove one of your limbs to fight someone because then you're just down a limb, right?
Yeah, agreed.
Like if I remove one of my arms and use that to swing around, like all of a sudden I can't block like from one side of my whole body, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there isn't really much utility in being able to remove one of your limbs unless it grows back.
Well, you just put it back on.
Yeah, and then you just put it back on. But then you're just like, then you basically have no superpower.
Yeah, they're just removable limbs. You pop it off and fight someone.
What was the second one again?
The ability to stop all clocks.
I really can't figure out a way to use that for my own advantage, right? Because like I'm like, oh, what if I did it?
What if you're like super late all the time, you know?
That's true. Which I kind of am. But
this might be on.
But if you're late to somewhere, that means you're not there, which means you're not in hearing distance of that clock, so you can't stop it anyways. Ooh. So if you show up late, the clock is already late. Like, you know what I mean? Like, unless you could like call someone in the vicinity and like that phone counting as the hearing vicinity of the clock, maybe.
True.
So maybe not that, but the eating one, because besides the fact that you can literally just eat anything, like that means you're gonna eat poisons, right? Like you can eat bugs if you want. I mean, we can eat bugs now if we wanted to.
If you got buried alive, you could eat your way out.
You eat your way out. Assuming that you have like the teeth strength and the jaw strength to like
that. Yes. So like if you can, the thing is you can eat and digest any form of matter. So you got the jaw strength, you got the teeth strength.
Yeah. And so that would 1000% probably be the move because you can do that anywhere without like, like all the time. You'll literally never starve, which is cool.
Right.
But what would my name be? It's got to do something with my jaw, right? Because I had jaw surgery.
I was gonna say it's nice how it came full circle. We're back.
I know, right?
It did. It wasn't even planned that way, to be honest.
Damn, I can't think of a funny good name. Like some people call me Darro, right? Because my name reads that way phonetically. So like Jarro would be cool. Like Jawro. because of
I'm
jaw
pretty
surgery.
sure Jarro is like an actual super villain,
No way.
but not like
Yeah.
by jaw. Like it's Jarro. I'm gonna look it up.
It'd be like Darro
Yeah.
Chea.
So that's what I thought. So Jarro is a star conqueror.
What?
Yeah.
All right, so I would just be a parody of that, apparently.
Be
I'm-
Darro Chea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing.
And I wouldn't be conquering stars, I'd be conquering like plates.
Big Max.
He is a star.
Oh, is he a Batman villain?
Well, I think this one he is not. So no, that's Starro. Jarro was like his. I know this because I know a lot about comics. I think he's like a clone or something of Starro, and he's like smaller. And yes, he becomes like not a Batman villain, but like he's on the Batman team. He wants wanted to become a Robin.
Interesting.
Yep.
Speaking of comics, are you excited for the Black Panther movie?
Yeah, I am. I haven't seen Black Adam, and I'm actually more excited to see Black Adam, to be honest.
Really? I've heard that the acting isn't very good in that movie.
I just think Dwayne The Rock Johnson is probably one of the greatest human beings on the planet, and I basically
love The Rock.
support anything he does.
Totally valid. Concur.
So, but yes, I was actually talking to Matt about this. I think yesterday. I'm currently going through my entire MCU rewatch.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently going through the beginning of the timeline. So starting starting at Captain America, and I'm on Iron Man 2 right now.
Oof, yeah, a long way to go.
Oh my god, so long.
Yeah.
I only started this a couple days ago though, so I'm pretty proud of the fact that I'm like the fourth movie in.
Yeah.
So, which
man, those were some days. Do you remember like just the excitement of I remember seeing like the first Iron Man and me just like walking out of the theater. I'm like, this is something completely different. Like that was the first like superhero movie to have had that type of impact, you know?
yeah.
And then like, you know, having to wait every couple of years for a new Marvel movie to come out, dude. Like, do you remember that? Do you remember like waiting for the Avengers to come out?
It was wild to the fact that Iron Man, awesome, big success, and then they're like, you know what, this is successful. Let's make like an actual universe about it. The fact that they took Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Helmsworth, and put them all in one fucking movie was unheard of. It never had happened yet. Never.
And not only that, but like it was handled really well, right?
Yeah.
Because like the characters maintained their characteristics and their personalities, and like everything that every character did in that movie was in character, right? And like oh, that's totally something that Tony Stark would do. He's a total fucking asshole. That's totally something Captain America would do. He's a total fucking prude. Like and all of those effects, like all the decisions and things that they made had consequences that paid off in that movie.
Yeah. I mean, like I thought I was actually gonna joke off of that, because when you were like, that's totally what they would do, and then you would get to Thor and it was like, and then Thor would say something funny, and then that's not at all anything Thor would never do, because Thor's not a funny character. But I loved how they did Thor. Like I mean, like the MCU has taken everything that people who enjoy comic books and superheroes and stuff, and finally gave them everything they've been looking for and asking for about 50 years of cinema.
Yeah.
So like everything that MCU has done has never been done before they did it.
Yep. To this day, like that, the whole crossover universe thing, it just seems impossible to have pulled off. I don't know how they did it.
Well, just the same way you do it in comic books. I mean, I guess the only thing is with actors, it's harder because, you're like, you have to get them to be like loyal to this character. And be like, well,
Yeah.
okay, you're going to do this for the rest of your life. It's not saying you can't be in another movie, but you need to do
You will
this.
you'll get typecasted. Like,
Yeah.
the thing, you'll be known for this role for a very long time. And it's like, it's really sad to me too, because like I follow, like you follow Robert Downey Jr. on Instagram and stuff, and you're like, wow, like, I don't know if he's ever going to come back. How can he? Like, I almost like, I don't want him to, unless it's like a flashback. And even then, I don't really want him to, because I feel like it would spoil the weight.
I mean, they come back in comic books all the time. So
that's true. That is true.
I mean, like this, like the storyline that they're doing right now, to where they've shown, I think that it's going to be in Black Panther. The new Iron Man is Iron Heart.
Yeah.
Who is Riri Williams. This happened in the comic books. This is a comic book story arc. Tony Stark dies. Riri Williams takes over. Comes back to life. Spoilers. Man, this is from the last like 5 years ago or more in comic books. If you don't know, there's no spoilers. This is on you.
I know, like, thinking about the Spider-Man Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire spoilers, man. They didn't even put in, like, in the trailers, they showed you 5% of the movie.
That was wild. I couldn't believe that. Like, that didn't.
I never thought that would have happened.
That's impressive. Okay. No more MCU.
All right,
okay,
no more MCU.
we gotta end this damn show, guys. Okay. We're gonna move on. Last segment, rapid fire questions. You're just gonna speak from the heart. You're gonna shoot from the hip. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Mario or Luigi?
Luigi.
Okay, this is the one that stumps most people. We'll see if you can beat it. Okay. Are you able to sing to me or Matt? You can look at whoever you want. The Bagel Bites jingle.
Shit. I used to know this at some point.
Oh, I feel everybody has known this at least.
Fuck.
Don't give up. You got this.
You got this.
I can feel your brain is working overtime right now.
I keep thinking of the Baby Bottle Pop theme.
Not at all. It doesn't even the song doesn't even say Bagel Bites. Not once.
Really?
Nope.
Damn, I'm at a fucking loss.
It's all about pizza.
That's a big hint.
That's a big hit. Pizza starts out first word pizza.
Dude, I can't remember.
Okay,
I also never liked Bagel Bites.
Oh, I feel so bad for you.
That's about to unlock a memory.
That is the
for you.
least pop punk thing you've ever said.
I'm a pizza rolls guy. I like pizza rolls.
Okay, I'm gonna sing it for you.
All
if
right.
you feel it, if you remember it, sing along.
All right.
Pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time. When pizza's on a bagel, you can eat pizza anytime.
Wow, I don't remember that at all.
Really?
Holy shit. Where was my childhood? I remember Bagel Bites. I do
know.
remember them. But yeah, I was 100% pizza rolls all the way.
I was definitely team Bagel Bites when I was a kid. I would just put as many on a plate as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, that's how I was with pizza rolls too, dude. Like, my mom would buy those 80 count bags, and I would just like, inhale 30 of them.
I'm also gonna throw this little tidbit out there for our listeners. We're not gonna get too deep into it, but one of my favorite childhood snacks was my mom would go to Sam's Club and she would get like this big ass box of waffles, like whatever the cheap waffles, like just big fucking box. And I would put 4 waffles on a plate. I would put one chocolate chip into each syrup trap. Each fucking syrup trap. I would microwave it.
I know where this is going.
Oh, I don't. That's it. I would microwave
yeah,
it, and
I
I
mean,
would just fucking maw them.
The
Delicious.
weird, see, but that makes sense. I used to do some weird shit.
That
I used to do
was
some weird shit with my food, dude. Probably because I grew up Asian, and so like my family didn't know how to like properly prepare American food for me.
Mm.
So like there was one time, like in fourth grade, my grandma would pack me lunch. She doesn't know how to make sandwiches, not really. So one time she packed me a peanut butter and cheese sandwich.
I hear that's a thing though.
I don't. If it is, I'm unaware because I could not eat that shit, dude. One time
I
she
think
packed
that's
me
a thing.
peanut butter and
Savory.
cheese.
Yeah.
That's like the
Ugh.
dog's ultimate dream. My dog would
I
love
mean,
that.
like, look, I'm from the Midwest. Like me and Matt,
Yeah.
hard Midwesterns. That's probably a fucking thing.
It
You know,
probably is.
I've
something that
never
is
had it. It sounds disgusting.
it does sound
But it's
disgusting,
gotta
right?
be it. I'll bet it's a
You know
thing.
what sounds disgusting, but actually isn't because
Mm.
I've done this before and I've done it. I've repeated this peanut butter and bologna.
I've
Try
never
it.
done it.
Try it. Try creamy
I
peanut
won't.
butter, crunchy, whatever your thing is. It's fine if you don't want to.
It's
I
like a
won't.
poor man's Monte Cristo.
Yeah,
It
see,
really
like
is.
now,
Butter
I
and like a slice of
butter.
like Oscar Mayer bologna.
I can fuck with a peanut butter bacon burger all day. I don't like
It's the
bologna as
same
it is.
concept. It's the same concept.
Yeah, it's gonna be savory. It's gonna be salty. But my bologna's got a first name and it don't have peanut butter in it.
That's fair.
Okay,
Totally valid.
back to rapid fire. We got three rapid fire questions left.
Okay.
Gwen Stefani or Haley Williams?
Haley Williams.
Hard shell or soft shell tacos?
Hard shell.
Final question. Sum 41 or yellow card?
Fuck. Some 41.
That's the correct answer. So you did it. You did it. You finished
Hey,
the podcast.
I made it.
Now's your chance. Let everybody know what you got going on. Where can they find you? What is next?
Cool. Okay. What do I have going on? Right now, I'm in hibernation mode, which means I am writing a fuck ton of music. Which means next year you can expect 5 songs from me. Regardless of the amount of music I write right now, you're gonna get 5 songs from me next year.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Spotify, and TikTok. Although, like I said, I'm in hibernation, so I'm not very active right now. It's mostly for my mental health because all of my friends on social media are doing wonderful, amazing things. All of them are playing big shows, opening for a bunch of big acts, and I am very envious of it in the most healthy way possible. And I'm super happy for them because they all fucking deserve it. But that's going to be me next year. So I'm just saving my social media energy for that. But you can find me at, what is my at? It's at Darro C, Darro _C. So DARRO_C. And that is it. That's where you can find me.
Cool. So it's just at Darro _C on all social media.
On TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah, pretty much it. I don't really use any other social media.
Ones that matter. Got it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I don't have a Twitter, but I should get that blue check mark, huh? Pay $8 a month.
Yeah,
You should get on that Twitter. That's where you can say the real weird shit. Twitter's the weird shit social media.
I love weird shit.
That's it. Then there you go. That's where you can say your weird shit because you don't say that for the Instagram, TikTok. Nah, baby.
No.
That's where the bologna and peanut butter sandwich is.
Yeah, you save that bologna peanut butter shit
On
You tell
Twitter.
That is
tell
a
Twitter
really
about-
good point.
You tell that to Twitter. That could be your first tweet. That could be your first tweet.
First
I'll get a
tweet.
response from Elon Musk trying this right now.
It'll just be a picture of you like taking a bite out of this, like, and Elon Musk suspends you right out the gate.
Absolutely.
Like too far. You've gone too far.
I'll make a fake Elon Musk account with a blue check mark and then make that tweet. So it's coming from him.
There we go.
Sounds good. On that note, thanks so much, Darro, for hanging out with us. Matt, thanks for co-hosting and chilling with me. Shit, we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you so much for checking out the show. Please hit that like, subscribe, or follow button so you never miss an episode. And thank you so much to those of you who already are. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or anywhere else you stream your podcasts. If you're in the position to help us grow and like behind the scenes access and exclusive shows, head on over to our Patreon at www.patreon.com/unsignedpoppunk. Let us know in the comments who you'd like to see on the show and what other content you'd like to see. Thank you all so much.